Hi, Flo, Katie, welcome. I think this is your first time, with us?
Yeah, my first time, so go easy.
Yeah, it'll be great. Welcome, Kathleen, Jim. Big welcome to Jane, who's joining us for the first time as a voting member.
Hi.
And I see Owen. Good evening, Owen. Chris is, sorry, Chris is ghosting us like usual.
You should try
And and I have regrets from Simone, and then we had received regrets from Cody and from Karen. So unfortunately, we don't have quorum this evening. So having consulted Flo, we're going to move ahead with the presentations of the meeting. And Flo's going to call us back for a special meeting for us to pick up the agenda and to be able to vote on everything. So I just have one person I see is on the call. Is that Stefan?
That's me.
Good evening, Stefan. So seeing that it's not an official meeting, we won't call the meeting to order, but pretty much I'll give the floor to Flo, and then it'll be on to your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. So just to let you know that the multi-use trails master plan was presented to council on the April 28th council meeting. And we will bring that back to council when we have our strategic planning session on May the 19th. In an exciting development, we did meet with Glencore to discuss accessing the property for a loop around Manitowoc Lake. And they are open to have that discussion with us. They feel that there are significant benefits both to Glencore and to the township to do that. And so that will also be part of our discussion at the strategic planning session in May. And I will introduce Stefan, who has been working on our community improvement plan, which is a formal document approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, which allows the township to offer grants, loans, and incentives for property improvement to the private sector for downtown revitalization projects. So this is an independent piece from the Community Revitalization Plan, which is really a planning document for the township itself, the corporation, where we can utilize that information and those projects identified to help us with grant writing and completing the identified projects that council would like us to work on. But the community improvement plan is for the private sector, and they work hand in hand. So know that you've all been involved in this project, and Stefan did finalize the document and sent that off to Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for comment. And so those comments are back. We now have the final draft, which Stefan is going to present to us tonight. So I'll turn it over to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Florence. I'm going to try and be brief. However, let me just go over the general nature of the document. Empowered under Section 28 of the Mining Act allows, as Flo mentioned, incentives to private property owners. It also has some other powers that aren't often used these days, like the ability to buy and sell land in the improvement area and undertake a couple of other similar initiatives. But those aren't often used, but they're able to be part of a community improvement plan. They weren't in this one. In this community improvement plan, tried to identify through the consultation and through the surveys, the kinds of incentives that people might be willing to act upon and might be of high value to community improvement. And in those as a result of those discussions, downtown facade improvements were seen as a high priority, downtown sign improvements, and downtown mural grants. And then outside of the downtown area, generally throughout the community improvement area, which is most of the built-up part of Manitowash, not the rural area. In the built-up area, also landscaping improvement grants, property improvement, tax relief grants, planning and building fee application grants, and township land development grant program. So those 4 are throughout the whole area, but the first 3 are limited to the downtown area and primarily for commercial property owners and tenants. And the remaining other 4 are for any kind of property owner, residential or commercial. And so the idea is that these, by offering typically 50% grant for eligible costs, that they would encourage improvements to get done and everyone would benefit. The landowner obviously benefits because it doesn't cost them as much, and the municipality gets a nicer looking property, a more exciting development, or in some cases through things such as the property improvement tax relief grant program, you potentially get significant development, which owners are attracted to because they get essentially a tax increase holiday for 5 years. So one of the disincentives to improving your property was as soon as you improve it, you get taxed, and this removes that barrier to improvement. So it's a popular type of program for municipalities to adopt. Okay, so those are the kinds of programs. Now, I think probably they all are pretty self-explanatory. I'll talk just a little bit more about the Township Land Development Grant Program. And that one is essentially where the township can capitalize on its property asset and offer that asset, that land, at a significant discount to someone who might be interested in developing it, conditional upon them actually, materializing with some positive development. And this is facilitated through community improvement plan, because prior to community improvement plans, you had to sell land at fair market value. So this offers land at a discount where it's to benefit both the township and obviously the developer. So that's that one. Let me just run through a little bit of the adoption mechanics for a community improvement plan. We obviously sort of develop the draft document, and then through consultation have arrived at this final version. It required Ministry of Municipal Affairs review, but they did say that things have changed in the roles and responsibilities, and they're no longer, the municipality is its own approval authority. So like an official plan amendment, once it's adopted and once the community improvement has been passed and notice has been given and there are no appeals, then it becomes final these days. In the old days, it wouldn't become final until the ministry actually signed off in a formal letter. So that doesn't happen anymore. Let's see. But the community improvement plan still needs to be adopted by bylaw, by council, and go through the normal Planning Act notice, public meeting process. And at the public meeting, there'd be a staff report sort of discussing and presenting the community improvement plan to council. So the other aspect of it is administration, once this thing gets going, and it's seen, depending on the flexibility that council wants to have. And that was one of the things that was interesting about this particular project, is that it empowers council by adopting the community improvement plan. It would allow council to undertake these programs whenever they felt it was appropriate, and to the magnitude of expenditure, the amount of budget that they felt was appropriate. And it doesn't have a sunset clause on it, although it's expected to be monitored and reviewed annually through the regular budget process. So this would give Manitowoc quite a bit of flexibility in determining, give council flexibility in determining how many incentives and what type of incentives they'd like to offer over time. And I know from earlier discussions, we were talking about the facade improvement program and the sign improvement program being perhaps the two initial ones, where council might, put aside 20 or 25,000 or something like that. They may choose to do that, and that may be all that they want to undertake in the first year. And then depending on how well those programs are received, how attractive the outcomes are, they might say, hey, this is pretty good stuff. And they may want to engage and activate the other possible programs that they could do, again, depending on budgeting. And so there's a lot of flexibility in this document and in this plan for council. And I think that, aside from if you had any particular questions, I think that just about summarizes what would happen through the community improvement plan. So perhaps we could, if you have a question or two, Florence, your show.
Thanks, Stefan. Thanks for presenting that information. I know that the next process is to advertise for 20 days that the plan is complete and allow members of the public to comment on the plan before it's presented to council. So one of the motions that we'll have to approve at next week's meeting is to have the Community Revitalization Committee make that motion to do another round of public consultation for a 20-day period. And then once that time is up, then we can bring it to council in a presentation. And then there's still a 30-day window where the public can appeal the
20 days after.
20 days after that?
Yep. 20 days after the notice of adoption. So often the notice isn't the same night as the bylaw is adopted. It might take a week or so, but it's 20 days. The window for appeal is 20 days after notice of adoption of the community improvement plan. Yeah.
Okay, and then if there's no appeal, then it is ready to implement.
You got it. Yep.
Okay. Are there any questions from the members? Owen?
Yeah, both really nice, two staff members. Sorry, Eric. My question, Stefan, is there a percentage or a maximum of the community that can be designated in the CIP?
The map, it was an interesting dilemma in this case. The map that defines the CIP area was originally adopted way back in your Manitowoc official plan of 1986. So it was a sort of big amoeba-like blob that basically covered almost all of the built-up area of town. From the ski road at north, down to the school at the south, west as far as sort of the end of development along Manitowoc Lake, not as far as the entrance, but like just after those streets there. So it was sufficient to cover most of the area of interest. I think there's one little residential area that by council resolution, you might, if someone is looking to do something there, you might want to amend the blob and say that these two areas are also included. But other than that, it's pretty well most of the built up area of Manitowoc.
Okay, thank you.
That was, yeah.
I just,
And certainly it covers the downtown. And right now, in this first phase, I think was the key idea is that make sure the programs are in place to allow for downtown improvements, and that's for sure. The at least to my perception was that would be the initial focus. But the tools are there to apply everywhere.
hi, Stefan. My question was very similar to Owen's. In the map, I did identify that it encompassed most serviced areas, and there's 2 residential areas that are not included. And you mentioned
Yeah.
that would have to be amended by council resolution. So would that be amending the official plan?
No, because you could adopt simply a schedule to the CIP bylaw and say, we were adopting this community improvement plan, but the community improvement plan project area is going to be slightly different than that of the original official plan. It's the same purpose and intent. So I can draft up a schedule like that as part of the process. I don't mind doing that for you if you're interested in that. Just
Thank
to
you.
help facilitate, implementation. Yeah.
Hi, Stefan. I just had a question on the Township Land Development Grant Program. It says the
Mhm.
type of development permits that are available are, commercial office, housing, or professional services. So is that the scope of the type of allowed development, or was that sort of something that was decided as for zoning, or does it expand beyond those types of?
Those listed there are primarily as examples. The fundamental purpose of that land development program is to take vacant land and put and assess a good use onto it, facilitate its use for development, whether it's commercial or residential, rather than just vacant land. So most infill lots are probably already currently zoned suitable adjacent development, but you may have some municipal properties that may need a rezoning. It depends on whether the intended development is permitted on that land in the zoning bylaw. I would guess that probably 75% of the time, having seen your zoning bylaw, I would guess that 75% of the time, the infill lots or municipal or township lands are probably already currently zoned for what people already likely propose to build on them. I don't foresee any need for any anomalies or any dramatic rezonings or changes that are likely. I mean, it may come up, but I suspect that your zoning bylaw will allow most people to do what they want on those particular parcels.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from anyone present? If not, I'd just like to thank Stefan for his presentation. Very thorough as usual. I know it was less lengthy as the last time, which is always good. We're at towards the end, so that's a good sign. I believe I forgot Jolene in roll call earlier. Apologize for that, Jolene. You know, we know you're here. But other than that, I guess at this point, seeing that we don't have quorum, again, Florence is going to reach out to us and maybe ask our preferences for a special meeting so that we can review everything and vote on the motions that will come of it. Florence, is there anything we'd like to add at the end?
No, I think that's it. And yes, I will send out an email tomorrow to see who's available next week to have that special meeting.
Perfect. So thanks again, Jane, and welcome to the committee. It was the shortest meeting we've ever had, but I promise we're going to keep you occupied with with longer meetings in the future. We got
Perfect.
some great to discuss. Okay, good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Thanks. Good night.